Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that's been eating at people's hearts for years. How can someone love you, think about you, even cry over you, and still never contact you? You wake up every day checking your phone, nothing. You play tough with your friends, but deep down you're asking yourself, if they love me like they said they did, why haven't they called? And that silence, that's what hurts the most. Because you're not just missing them, you're confused, you're angry, you're stuck between memory and reality. Well, let me tell you, this love is real, but sometimes it's trapped behind fear, ego, or wounds they haven't healed. This isn't about them not caring. It's about the hidden reasons they don't reach out, even when they want to. And once you understand those reasons, you'll stop blaming yourself and finally get the peace you've been losing sleep over. So don't go anywhere, because by the end of this, you're going to see that silence in a whole new light. Let's get one thing straight. Fear can be a powerful force, more powerful than love sometimes. Now, we all know love is supposed to be this beautiful, uplifting feeling, right? But the reality is that for many people, love comes wrapped in a package of vulnerability, and vulnerability can be terrifying. There's nothing scarier than putting your heart on the line and feeling it could get broken. When someone loves you but never contacts you, it's not always because they don't care or they're not thinking about you. It's often because they're afraid to open up, afraid of rejection, afraid that all of their feelings won't be enough. They might be sitting with their phone in their hand, staring at your number, wanting to reach out, but something inside them tells them, don't do it. Here's what you've got to understand. For some people, the fear of rejection isn't just about a one-time hurt. It's a fear that goes deep. Maybe they've been rejected before. Maybe they've poured their hearts into someone and it didn't work out. Maybe the last time they expressed their feelings, they were laughed at, or worse, ignored. And now, when it comes to you, the stakes are high. It's not just about texting or calling. It's about letting themselves be vulnerable again. That's scary. When they feel this deep fear, they lock up. Their mind starts to go into overdrive. What if I say the wrong thing? What if I look too eager? What if they don't feel the same way? So, even though they love you, the fear of rejection paralyzes them. The thought of being let down, of feeling insignificant, outweighs the desire to reach out. They're caught between their love for you and the fear of what might happen if they show it. And because they can't bear the thought of being hurt again, they choose silence over risk. They don't want to be the one to reach out first, because if you don't respond the way they hope, it will confirm their worst fear, that they were never good enough for you to begin with. But here's the thing, that fear of rejection is something everyone goes through, even the people who seem like they have it all together. It's universal. It's natural to feel that vulnerability when you really care about someone. What's tricky is that we, as people, tend to assume that silence means indifference or that they don't care about us. We jump to conclusions. But what's really happening is that the person might care more than you realize, but they're too scared to show it. They're afraid of pushing you away, so they hold back. It's frustrating, I know. You're sitting there wondering, why can't they just pick up the phone and call? Why does it feel like I'm always the one making the effort? But what you don't see is the internal battle they're fighting. They may love you, but their fear is louder than their desire to reach out. And unfortunately, when that fear wins, you end up feeling like you're left out in the cold, wondering what went wrong. But let me tell you something important. Fear isn't always a reflection of how much someone loves you or cares for you. In fact, sometimes fear is actually a sign that they care too much. They're just too scared of the potential hurt if things go wrong. They don't want to risk putting themselves out there and getting rejected, so they choose to stay quiet. But you've got to understand that this fear has nothing to do with you. It's about them. It's about their wounds, their insecurities, and their inability to face that vulnerability head on. And while that might be tough to deal with, it doesn't mean they love you any less. It just means they haven't yet figured out how to step past that fear. So if you're stuck in that waiting game, wondering why someone hasn't reached out even though you know they care, remember this: sometimes love is real, but fear is even more real. And for some, that fear can silence them, even when their heart is full of everything they want to say. Shame and guilt are two of the most powerful emotions that can hold someone back from reaching out, even when they love you. These feelings are not easy to talk about, but they are real. When someone has done something to hurt you, whether it's through actions, words, or even silence, they might feel like they don't deserve to contact you, even if their feelings for you haven't changed. Sometimes people make mistakes in relationships, and those mistakes can weigh so heavily on them that they shut down entirely, unable to face you or even reach out. It's not because they don't love you. It's because they feel like they've fallen short and don't know how to make it right. Think about a time when you did something you regretted, something that hurt someone else, or even let them down. The shame and guilt you felt after that are not easy to shake off. You might have found yourself hiding, avoiding that person because the weight of what you did was too much to bear. Well, that's exactly how it feels for someone who loves you but feels like they messed up. They may have hurt you in ways that they can't undo, and that feeling of guilt eats them up inside. Instead of owning up to it and reaching out, they decide that staying silent is easier. It feels like less of a confrontation with their own wrongdoings. It's a self-imposed punishment, almost like they're saying, "I don't deserve you," or "I'm not worthy of your love anymore." But here's the tricky part. This guilt often stems from their own insecurities and fears. It's not an accurate reflection of how you might feel or what you're willing to forgive. They might be assuming that you'll never be able to move past what happened, or that you'll never be able to look at them the same way again. The truth is, people make mistakes. We all do. But the hardest part is forgiving ourselves for those mistakes, even more than asking for forgiveness from someone else. And when someone is stuck in that guilt, it creates an emotional wall between you and them. Instead of taking the risk to reach out and mend things, they retreat because they're scared of facing your disappointment, or worse, your rejection. Think about how difficult it can be to approach someone you care about when you know you've wronged them. It's uncomfortable. It's awkward. It's vulnerable. And for some, that level of vulnerability is terrifying. They might feel like there's no way to fix what they've done, or that you won't give them a chance to explain or make things right. So instead of calling or texting, they stay quiet, thinking it's easier to hide than to confront the reality of what's happened. They're so consumed by guilt that they believe silence is their only option, even if it's causing more harm than good. What often gets overlooked in situations like this is that their guilt is not a reflection of your feelings. You might have forgiven them, or you may just be waiting for them to take that first step to show you that they care. But their internal struggle, that voice telling them they're not good enough, can make it incredibly hard for them to reach out. In their minds, it feels like the only thing that will make it better is time, but sometimes that time only makes the gap wider. It's important to understand that someone's guilt isn't about you. It's about them. It's about their sense of responsibility for what they did and how they feel about themselves because of it. This doesn't mean they love you any less. In fact, their love might be even stronger because of the regret they're carrying, but their inability to act on it is tied to their own emotional burden. They need time to process it, to make peace with themselves, and to work up the courage to face you. It's not that they don't want to reach out. It's that they don't feel worthy of doing so. Now, this doesn't mean you should sit around and wait for them forever. You deserve honesty, respect, and love. And if someone truly values you, they should be willing to face their mistakes and make things right. But understanding the depth of their guilt can give you some clarity on why they're not contacting you. It's not about a lack of care or concern. It's about their emotional struggle with shame, and sometimes the biggest hurdle is overcoming that shame to take action. If you're in a situation where you know someone loves you but hasn't reached out because of guilt or shame, know that it's not because they don't think about you. It's not because they don't want to talk to you. It's because they're carrying a burden of their own making, and until they find a way to release that burden, they may remain distant. And while that can hurt, it's important to recognize that this is more about them than about you. So give yourself the peace of knowing that sometimes love isn't enough to break through that internal wall. But with time, healing, and courage, it might just be. Ego and pride are some of the most powerful forces in relationships, often more influential than love itself. It's difficult to admit, but we've all been there. We've all let our pride get in the way of something that could have been beautiful. And it's not just about arrogance or thinking you're better than someone else. It's about self-preservation. For many people, their ego is a protective shield. It's what they hide behind when they're scared, when they feel vulnerable, or when they're unsure about how the other person will react. And when someone loves you but never contacts you, sometimes it's because their pride is stopping them from taking the first step. It's not that they don't care, but they're not willing to make themselves vulnerable in a way that could open them up to hurt or rejection. Think about it. When we're really invested in someone, we can become terrified of putting ourselves in a position where we might feel humiliated, rejected, or even unimportant. The ego convinces us that being the one to reach out first is a sign of weakness, a sign that we care too much. In the beginning stages of a relationship, it's almost as if we're constantly playing a game of who cares less, because deep down, nobody wants to look desperate. But here's the irony. The more we let pride dictate our actions, the more we risk losing what could be something meaningful. And the person who loves you but never contacts you, they're often caught up in that battle, torn between their love for you and the weight of their pride. For some, pride isn't just about not wanting to be vulnerable, it's also about feeling like they've already given enough or that they've done their part. If I've already shown my love, why should I be the one to reach out again? They might think. Their ego convinces them that they shouldn't have to be the one to initiate. After all, they believe. If they truly loved me back, they'd reach out first. But the truth is, relationships, real, honest, and deep relationships, are built on mutual effort. The willingness to put your pride aside and show someone you care, even when it feels uncomfortable, is a sign of strength, not weakness. However, when you're caught up in your ego, it's easy to justify why you can't make that move. For someone who loves you, this can mean holding back from calling you, texting you, or doing anything that would make them look vulnerable. They might be worried about how you'll interpret their actions. They don't want to seem too eager, and they don't want to risk appearing like they're chasing after you. The fear of seeming needy can be so overwhelming that it paralyzes them from doing anything at all. It's as if the ego has locked them in a cage, convincing them that staying silent is somehow better than reaching out. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, if they love me, why can't they just drop their ego? And that's a valid question. The thing is, for many people, ego isn't something they can just turn off like a light switch. It's deeply ingrained in how they perceive themselves and how they think others perceive them. The fear of being seen as too much or not enough holds them back from taking the step that could bring them closer to you. Their love for you is real, but their ego is louder, and it stops them from acting in ways that could make a real connection. This is where understanding comes in. If you've ever been in a situation where someone loved you but never contacted you because of their pride, you know how frustrating it can be. You might wonder if they care at all or if they're just pretending. But often the opposite is true. Their pride makes them look distant and cold, but deep down they're battling with themselves, trying to figure out how to lower their guard without losing face. Their silence isn't because they don't care, it's because they can't bear the thought of appearing vulnerable or too eager. What you have to understand is that sometimes love doesn't conquer all. Sometimes ego and pride are too powerful for love to break through, especially if they've never learned how to put their guard down. And while it may be frustrating to watch someone you care about hold back, knowing this can help you stop taking it personally. It's not a reflection of your worth or how much they love you. It's a reflection of their internal struggle with vulnerability and fear of being perceived as weak. If you found yourself in this situation, don't despair. Relationships are complicated and they involve both people being willing to let their guard down. It's a process of learning to trust, learning to put pride aside, and learning that vulnerability is actually a strength. If they truly love you, at some point, their ego will have to take a backseat to their feelings. But until then, all you can do is be patient and remember that their silence is not about you. It's about them and their struggle with pride. Sometimes, life and circumstances play a bigger role than emotions or feelings in why someone doesn't reach out even when they love you. We often make the mistake of assuming that if someone loves us, nothing should stop them from contacting us. But life has a funny way of getting in the way, and sometimes it's not about the love they feel, but about everything else they are dealing with. There could be personal issues, past experiences, or even external factors that make it incredibly difficult for someone to reach out to the person they care about. And while it's easy to take silence personally, the truth is that sometimes it has nothing to do with you at all. For some people, life is chaotic. They could be going through something in their personal life, perhaps a family issue, a financial struggle, or even a battle with their mental health. And these things weigh heavily on them. When you're dealing with the stress of everyday life, sometimes the emotional energy it takes to reach out or initiate a conversation feels impossible. The love they have for you might be real, but when someone is mentally or emotionally drained, their ability to act on that love becomes limited. They're simply trying to survive the overwhelming circumstances in their life, and unfortunately, this can cause them to withdraw even if they don't want to. Additionally, some people have a hard time expressing their emotions because they've never learned how to do so in healthy ways. Their past experiences, such as growing up in a home where emotional expression wasn't encouraged or being in past relationships where their feelings were dismissed or invalidated, can make it hard for them to show vulnerability. These past experiences leave them with emotional scars that affect how they handle love and relationships. It's not that they don't care or don't want to be there for you. It's that their past has conditioned them to guard their emotions. Reaching out and making themselves emotionally available feels like too much to risk, so they keep their feelings to themselves, even if it hurts both of you in the process. Then there are external circumstances that might affect someone's ability to reach out, no matter how much they want to. For example, they could be in a situation where they are physically separated from you. Perhaps they're going through a long-distance phase, or they've been caught up with work, or maybe life has taken them down a path where time and proximity prevent them from being as present as they'd like to be. You may wonder, if they love me, why can't they find a way to make time? And the answer often lies in how busy and overwhelming their life has become. When you're juggling a million things at once, it's easy to lose track of time or feel like reaching out will be one more thing on an already overloaded plate. It doesn't mean they've stopped loving you or that you're any less important. It just means that other priorities in their life are demanding more of their attention and energy. In other cases, someone may be emotionally distant because they've been hurt before and are afraid of getting hurt again. It's not always easy to admit, but many people who have been through painful experiences in their relationships, whether romantic, familial, or otherwise, can develop a defensive mechanism of avoiding emotional connection. They may pull away because they're afraid of repeating the past, afraid of being let down or betrayed. Even if they love you, the fear of opening up again can be too overwhelming. They might be waiting for the right moment when they feel secure enough, but in the meantime, they stay quiet, holding back the love they feel. This kind of situation can be especially confusing for you. If someone loves you but doesn't contact you, it can leave you feeling rejected, like you're not a priority, or that your worth is being questioned. But in reality, they may be caught up in their own inner struggles and personal barriers that prevent them from taking that first step toward you. They may not know how to balance their love for you with the things happening in their life, and they don't want to burden you with their struggles. Sometimes it's easier for them to stay quiet than to risk letting you see the side of them that feels vulnerable or imperfect. Now, let's be clear. While understanding the reason for someone's silence can help, it doesn't mean you should just wait around forever. You deserve to feel loved, respected, and valued. And if someone truly cares about you, they should be willing to make the effort to show you that. But knowing that there might be external factors affecting their actions can help you stop taking their silence so personally. Love is complex, and it's not always enough to break through the barriers that life throws at us. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to give them space to work through their challenges, knowing that the love they have for you hasn't gone away. It's just temporarily obscured by the struggles they're facing. In the end, relationships aren't just about love. They're about timing, communication, and understanding. And while it can be difficult to wait for someone to find their way back to you, the hope is that when they're ready, they'll reach out. Because love, despite everything, doesn't always stay hidden forever. Fear of rejection can be one of the most paralyzing emotions that stops someone from reaching out. Even when they love you, it may sound counterintuitive. After all, if someone loves you, wouldn't they want to talk to you or connect with you? But love and fear don't always work in harmony. Love is powerful, but fear can be even more powerful, especially when someone is emotionally vulnerable. The fear of rejection is deep-rooted and can be incredibly difficult to overcome, and sometimes it stops people from reaching out, even when all they want to do is make a connection. They might fear that if they make the first move, you won't respond the way they hope. They might fear that they will be rejected, ridiculed, or even abandoned. Think about a time when you've had to open up to someone, whether it was telling them how you felt or asking for something you wanted. The vulnerability in those moments can be terrifying. When we put ourselves out there emotionally, we're taking a huge risk. The fear that the other person might not respond the way we hope can make us hesitant to even try. And for someone who loves you but never contacts you, that fear can be overwhelming. They might sit on their feelings, wondering if it's worth the risk to reach out. Will you accept them? Will you acknowledge their feelings? Or will you turn away, making them feel foolish or unworthy? The fear of rejection is even more intense if someone has experienced rejection before, whether in past relationships, in childhood, or in other areas of their life. These past experiences can leave emotional scars that create a deep-seated fear of vulnerability. If someone has been rejected or hurt in the past, the pain of that experience can shape how they approach future relationships. The thought of exposing themselves to the possibility of rejection again can trigger anxiety and insecurity. Even if they love you and care for you deeply, they may fear that reaching out will open them up to that same kind of hurt again. Their love for you may not be enough to override that fear, and so they choose silence instead. But here's the thing. Rejection doesn't necessarily mean the end of a relationship or the end of someone's feelings for you. Rejection is a part of life, and in many cases, it's not about being unworthy of love. Rejection happens because of timing, miscommunication, or other external factors that have nothing to do with the value of the person who is reaching out. But even with that understanding, the fear of rejection can feel like an emotional minefield. It makes a person hesitant to take that first step. They might be afraid that their feelings won't be reciprocated or that their efforts will be dismissed. It's a feeling of vulnerability that's not easy to navigate, and it can be enough to keep someone from taking action, even if their love for you is genuine. In relationships, the fear of rejection can also be linked to a lack of self-worth. If someone doesn't feel secure in who they are or is dealing with low self-esteem, they might be afraid that reaching out will only confirm their worst fears, that they are not worthy of love, that they aren't enough for you. This insecurity can make it incredibly difficult for someone to open up emotionally. They might think, why would they want to hear from me? I'm not good enough for them. These negative beliefs about themselves can create a barrier that prevents them from reaching out, even though their heart wants to. And the worst part, the fear of rejection doesn't just affect their ability to contact you. It can also affect their ability to communicate openly. It can lead them to second, guess their actions, overthink every word they say, or worry about whether they're coming on too strong or not strong enough. This constant self-doubt can become paralyzing. They want to reach out, but the fear of rejection takes over and holds them back, making them feel trapped in their own emotions. Sometimes the silence is a result of their inner battle with themselves. They might want to reach out, but they can't shake off the fear that doing so will make them vulnerable to rejection. It's not that they don't love you or don't care. It's that the risk of putting themselves out there emotionally feels like too much to bear. This fear can make them freeze, leaving them unable to take action. They might be stuck in a cycle of overthinking, unable to take that first step because they can't get past their fear. Understanding this fear is crucial because it allows you to see that their silence doesn't reflect their love for you. It's not about a lack of affection or interest. It's about their internal struggle with their own fears and insecurities. If someone loves you but never contacts you because of a fear of rejection, they are simply holding themselves back because they're afraid of getting hurt. It's a defense mechanism that comes from a place of deep vulnerability. The only way to break through this fear is for them to feel safe enough to take that first step. And that may take time, patience, and understanding on your part. If you are in this situation, it's important to recognize that their fear of rejection is not a reflection of your worth. You are worthy of love and affection, and sometimes the only thing standing in the way of true connection is someone's fear of being hurt. It's important to give them the space they need to work through their emotions, but it's also important to know that you deserve someone who can meet you halfway and be willing to face those fears in order to create a stronger bond. Ultimately, fear of rejection is something that everyone experiences at some point in their life. It's a human emotion that can be hard to overcome, but it doesn't have to define the relationship. Love is about being vulnerable, taking risks, and accepting that rejection is not the end. It's just a part of the journey. Sometimes the reason someone never contacts you, even though they love you, is because they simply don't know how to. This might seem odd at first. How could someone who cares about you not know how to reach out? But it's more common than you think. Emotional communication isn't something that comes naturally to everyone. For many people, expressing their feelings or initiating contact can feel like a massive challenge. This isn't necessarily because they don't care about you, but because they've never learned how to bridge that emotional gap. They may struggle with expressing their emotions verbally, or they could have deep insecurities about how their feelings will be received. In some cases, people might grow up in environments where emotional expression wasn't encouraged or where communication was more about keeping things practical than connecting on a deeper emotional level. In households where emotions were either dismissed or never openly discussed, individuals may not develop the skills needed to reach out in a way that feels comfortable for them. The idea of showing vulnerability, especially in the form of initiating contact, can feel foreign or even threatening. They might be afraid that they'll say the wrong thing, or that their attempt at connecting will be met with indifference or even rejection. Additionally, there are people who don't know how to express love or affection in the way you might expect. Love isn't always about grand gestures or constant communication. For some, it may manifest in quieter ways, like acts of service or providing for you in practical ways. They may show you they care through their actions rather than words or messages. While this can be a beautiful form of love, it can be difficult for the other person to understand, especially if you're waiting for something more overt, like a phone call, a text, or a simple message to show that they're thinking about you. For others, they may struggle with initiating contact because they have an overwhelming fear of saying or doing the wrong thing. They might worry that if they reach out, they won't get the reaction they hope for. This can stem from a lack of confidence in how they communicate or in their own worth. They fear that reaching out might push you away, or worse, that they'll appear too eager or desperate. The emotional risks involved in initiating contact can seem too high, so they choose silence instead. The love they feel for you is real, but their inability to reach out is rooted in their own lack of confidence in how to navigate the emotional waters of a relationship. Another issue could be that they feel unsure of where they stand with you. If there has been any sort of distance or miscommunication between you in the past, they might hesitate to contact you out of fear of disrupting the fragile balance between you two. They may feel uncertain about how their message will be received, unsure if you still care or if you'll even respond. This sense of uncertainty can make them hold back, not wanting to risk pushing you away by reaching out too soon or too forcefully. Furthermore, some people have a deep-rooted belief that they should only communicate when everything is perfect or when they have something important to say. They might put off contacting you because they feel like they don't have anything significant to share or that their message won't be worth your time. They believe that reaching out when they aren't able to offer something meaningful may make them appear weak or needy. This type of thinking can create a barrier where they feel like they need to wait for the perfect moment to contact you. And as a result, they never contact you at all. They are waiting for a time when they feel their message will have the most impact, but this desire for perfection can keep them from taking the first step. There's also a common pattern among those who've experienced past trauma in relationships. Whether it was a difficult breakup or an emotionally abusive past, these experiences can shape how someone approaches new relationships. They might carry emotional scars that make it hard for them to open up and communicate effectively. They might be afraid that by reaching out, they'll be opening themselves up to the same pain they felt before. As a result, they hold back, not out of a lack of love, but because they're scared of being hurt again. In these situations, even though they want to contact you, their fear of history repeating itself keeps them stuck in silence. It's also worth noting that for some individuals, Communication might simply not be a priority. This doesn't mean they don't care about you or love you. Rather, they might be the type of person who tends to keep their emotions to themselves or feels like they don't need to constantly check in. They might not see the importance of regular communication in a relationship, viewing it as something that will naturally happen when both people are truly connected. They may be one of those people who values quality over quantity, thinking that if they love you, it doesn't matter whether they reach out every day or not. For them, the bond you share doesn't rely on constant communication, and this lack of communication might not feel like an issue to them at all. In relationships, emotional connection and communication are both essential, but not everyone is equipped with the tools to initiate those conversations, especially if they've never learned to communicate their feelings effectively. If someone you care about loves you but never contacts you, it could be because they are struggling with their own internal challenges, a lack of confidence, emotional fears, or simply not knowing how to take the first step. Their love for you is not in question, but their ability to express that love might be. What you can do in this situation is offer understanding and patience. Recognize that their silence isn't necessarily a reflection of their feelings toward you, but rather a reflection of their struggles with communication. Give them the space they need to work through their emotions, and if you're comfortable, encourage them to open up, reassuring them that their feelings are safe with you. Sometimes it's not that they don't want to contact you, it's that they don't know how. With time, communication, and support, they may learn how to overcome these barriers and reach out to you in the way that feels right for both of you.